Hey, it's Jean and welcome back to my channel. So today I'll be doing a tutorial on how I do my mini braids. So I'm starting off on freshly washed and blow dried hair. When I blow dry my hair, I don't use any product, I just stretch my hair using my hands. I use one hand to stretch out my hair and then in the other hand I'm blow drying it. And when I'm doing my braids, I like to have a grease and a detangler on hand because my hair does get very dry and this makes it hard to separate. So I apply the grease to my kitchen area and then I make a part based off of how large my section is going to be, and then I also add some more grease on that so that way it makes the hair a lot softer. And I make sure that I never skip this step because if I do, I'll literally just be pulling my hair out strand by strand. If I don't do this, I will feel my hair strands literally being plucked out of my scalp. So you never want to work on dry hair. Always have a product on hand that gives you some form of slip so that way you're not breaking your hair off, because at the end of the day, our goal is to retain length and not yank our hair out. Next, I'm gonna go in with my rat tail comb and I basically just feel my way, like I feel how large the section is and I just go based off of if I feel like it's straight or not, if that makes sense. And then I'm gonna go in with my mirror to see if it is straight, and if I want to straighten it out some more then I would. I don't really care too much about the back sections being super straight. I care more about straight parts when I get towards the front, but I still try to make it as straight as I can. And after you part your section, you would size your parts based off of how large you want your braids to be. I wanted my braids to be almost micro, so I made them really small, but of course you can make them larger if you'd like. I like to do small braids because I do have fine 4C hair. My hair isn't very dense, so the smaller my braids are, I feel like it gives me some more volume. So that's why I try to make them a bit smaller. But when my hair does get longer, I definitely would not be making them this small because they're going to be a pain to take out. So I'm just gonna enjoy making them this size while I still can, while my hair is still this short. After I finished this section, I went ahead and I did some more sections off camera, but I just went ahead and I repeated the same process. I greased my scalp, I made my parts, and then I sized out my braids. And after I do about almost half of my head with the mini braids, I go ahead and I apply my detangler, and I'm just going to do a part going straight down the middle of my head. And I like to do this method because I feel like it saves me so much time when it comes to parting. Instead of worrying about parting my hair straight across on every single section, I'm able to just focus on parting one half of my head and then using it as a guide to part the other half. Now this part I like to make sure that it's very straight, so I'm also going to go in with my mirror just to double check to make sure that everything is straight down the middle. And after I'm satisfied with that, I'm going to tie it away and then I'm going to start working on the first section. After I do that, I'm going to part out the section for the front of my hair. And of course, I'm going to go ahead and add the grease to the perimeter of that section so it's more manageable and it's not as tangled. And then I was going to go in and use a rat tail comb, but I felt like my hair needed some more softness added to it, so I went ahead with a detangler in order to make it softer so my roots were easier to detangle. finished parting out my sections, I'm just going to go ahead and clip them out of the way. And I'm going to start working on the front of my head. Now that the front portion of my head is done, I'm just gonna go ahead and move on to the back. So of course I start off by adding my grease to my hair. And right here I use a mirror in order to see the back of my head because I do want the parts to be straight and even. So this is why I like to do one half and then work on the other half. And this is why I like to do one half first, because when I get to the other side, all I have to do is just worry about following that line and go straight across instead of having to worry about doing one straight line across at a time. Alright guys, so this is what everything looks like after I'm all done. They're still a little bit stiff, but I went in and I sprayed them with some water and I moisturized them, and they ended up looking a lot more flowy. And this is how they ended up looking about 3 days later. They're really nice and flowy, and I just want to point out that my hair grew so much from the last time I did mini braids. And if you guys are interested in following me on my hair growth journey, then go ahead and subscribe because I will be posting a lot more hair content. But bye for now, and I will see you guys in my next video.